All right, 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 City Council meeting. We'll begin with approving or amending the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda anybody would like to make tonight? If there are none, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Leroy. I got a motion by Schomer, second by Soderbach. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move into consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine or non-controversial are included as part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests that an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, a second, and a vote. Any item removed from consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. Tonight on consent agenda, we've got 3.1, approve the minutes of the February 3rd, 2025 City Council meeting. 3.2, approve the payment of claims and transfer requests as presented. And 3.3, approve the appointment of Mr. Calvin Casey and Mr. Thane Tandy to the Planning Commission, each with terms expiring February 28th of 2027. Is there anything that anybody'd like to remove from consent agenda and consider separately tonight? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Abe.
Second.
Thank you, Jay. Motion by Zonto, second by Soderbach. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the council. The public forum be no longer 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss, but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. Nobody signed up for public forum. Did anybody in the audience like to speak in open forum? Seeing none, we'll close open forum and move into general business. General business 7.1, consider contract with Abdo for the 2024 auditing services. Lucas.
Uh-oh.
We gonna move so fast and we weren't even ready, huh?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Coming up here, we got sent the engagement letter, annual engagement letter for audit services. The anticipated cost that was listed in the engagement letter was $20,800. It was approximately $1,000, or about 5% higher than last year's, with their own increases in their expenses, plus there continue to be new GASB standards and revisions, general cost inflation making up most of that increase. It's just coming from audit backgrounds, pretty reasonable fee, and they're qualified firms, so pretty unlikely to find anything cheaper, if not to kind of being a higher rate. And sounds like everybody's been pretty happy with the services so far.
Okay. Thank you, Lucas. Council members, any questions or comments?
No, I just have a question. I'm used to approving the audit the year before the audit starts, kind of like, are we doing it in the proper order? Like it's kind of late in the game to do an RFP and all that and get.
Right, yeah, so this, I assume you guys, well, it's probably been a while, but normally you have like a 3-year agreement with a firm, and then they just send you the engagement letter for during that cycle. So I think we're in the middle of a cycle right now.
We are.
Yeah.
Are we in the
yeah.
middle? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other comments, I'd take a motion to approve.
So move.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Leroy. Motion by Soderbach, second by Schomer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 7.2, City Administrator Recruitment, Administrator Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Your packet has the position announcement in the packet that we did send out and post in various places. Today we have 2 applications. And the thinking is to have a meeting next week. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a step back. I hope to grab the mayor and council members Zanto and our city clerk and try to get a Zoom call collectively and come up with those finalists, what have you. We need to touch base on that date, maybe early next week, Monday or something. we'll figure it out. And then if, based on those lists of people, we would forward that to our step two committee, which the council set up. We look to have that on the 27th. Next Thursday. I mentioned we have 2 applicants that I have. I will share those all with you. Deadline is tomorrow. So we might get, you know, if you get 10 more, if you get no more, you know, whatever. So I'll package all those up. They'll still be treated as confidential until there's a list of finalists determined. My understanding is that the city attorney forwarded to you people who had applied in the last go round. I think if you have somebody off those lists that you would want to have the 4 of us consider, for lack of a better word, maybe you could email those names to Peter. Pick 2 or 3 that you like, if any. If there's 4 you like, great, send them all over. We'll take a look at all of them. But if you could do that maybe by end of the day on Thursday, that'd be awesome. And if there's not any, that's fine, because we'll need to talk to Peter about how we deal with that confidentiality question. We probably would have to reach out to those people and say, would you be willing to be included in some additional review? Well, let's just start with, let's list the names to Peter. Okay, so that's where we're at.
Okay.
I did craft a list of, start thinking about a list of questions that the step 2 committee will ask. And so I've started pulling some of those together. I'll share those questions with you all. If some you like, some you don't, some you want to add. Let's get that list done and keep moving from there.
Sounds good. Council members, any questions or comments for Eric?
No, it looked like we were missing 4 or 5 applications. I remember in December that Liza said we had 25 or 26. And I think what we got in our packet from Peter were 19, which included the 6 finalists. I couldn't reconcile it. It was like we were off 4 or 5 applications.
Maybe some people withdrew.
Well, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
but then
Yeah,
Liza,
they did.
it would have been kind for Liza to tell us that they withdrew. Because I don't remember getting 6. think there
I know
one
there was at
person-
least one person,
One
one of the
person wa-
finalists, right?
Right.
And then,
But
yeah,
I
Yeah, I
don't
don't-
know.
I don't remember seeing the finalists. I remember seeing one that was on our list.
Well, there was a
There's
finalist on our
6.
list. Yeah, there was when I reconciled, I took there was one finalist on the ones that Peter got. Which
Yeah.
should have been that because we already had that one.
Yeah,
But I couldn't there was like 5 that were missing.
Yeah.
When you start out with 25 in December that she said we had. So I don't know, maybe they dropped out.
It's
I
possible.
hope they did, and she did keep them.
Sometimes they make a phone call, hey, take me off the list.
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah.
So we're still going with the plan that you folks talked about last time and keep marching forward.
All right. Sounds good. Move on to 7.3, consider park mowing agreement for Mark's Bobcat to Administrator Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor, again, council again. Just catch it up to you.
Yeah, you got that long,
Log all
Long
the
part of
stuff
the-
I pulled into the.
yep.
Alright. I don't know the great detail of the history of Red River and work with Mark's Bobcat. I'm sure from what I understand, they've done good work for you and I don't know how many years they've done work. Maybe you all would know. I'm sure the council member Schomer would.
Sure.
But I know that time is coming to think about your summer mowing and just check it off the list, get it done. So I reached out to them and said, hey, would you be willing to provide some options for 2025? They sent over two ideas, a 1 year at 10% or 2 year at 10% total, so a concept 5% each year. So the second year would be a 0% increase. The mowing terms or what they would be doing is the same as your past years for the 4 parks and the city hall. Again, my understanding is they've done a great job for you. Much more than a couple years, you might want to start thinking about going out for an RFP, or I know you folks have talked about if you bring this in-house, what have you, who knows. You probably won't do that in 2025, no matter what. So you need somebody. Maybe you can get it done for 2026, but even that might be a different question. So either way, you can't go wrong with a one or two possibility. So yeah, that's where we are.
Okay, council members, any questions? Thoughts, comments?
I think we should hire them again. They're doing a great job because we haven't had any complaints
That certainly is a good indication, huh?
and reliable and, yeah. It's nice to deal with folks that live around here.
Can we ask maybe Eric to come back and ask them for 8% over 2 years? Just to make it closer to the expected inflation. I mean, 4% is even probably higher than inflation, so it'd be 8% first year, 0 in the second. And not like, let's see what they come back.
I did catch you.
8% first year and 0 in.
I didn't engage them in any way about pricing. I mean, can't never hurt to ask them, I suppose, if you council would want.
I just think that, I'm just used to like going back with another ask. So just see what they say. I'm not saying we walk away from it, and I prefer 2 year.
Okay. My only comment is, and this is for them and for us, but there's no exit clause in this either way. I would ask that there's be some sort of exit clause be added to it just for their protection and our protection.
Well, I can ask for both. I don't think the exit clause would be a problem one
Mhm.
way or another. If the Councilmember Margaret, if you're comfortable with the concept, I can go back and ask them if they prefer not. Are we still okay with the 10%?
Well, if they're watching this.
Right. But what other option do you have? I mean.
What would that, there's plenty of landscaping. I mean, we didn't do an RFP. That's the only
you
thing.
didn't
It's
do an
like,
RFP.
I don't know.
You would have to get into measuring your space.
Yeah.
Number of cuts. I mean, this point of the year, you can't do that.
Mhm.
Or if that's the case, you just do it 1 year. And,
No, I'd rather do 2 years.
2 year.
well, how would you let me ask and find
Ask
out?
them.
If that's okay.
They do more than just mowing for us too.
Yes, sir.
So
Mhm.
we can throw some, we can tell them verbally without committing that we'll see if we can't throw more services outside of the mowing.
They do spraying and, weed trimming, little tree trimming if it's in the way.
They do snow plowing too, don't they?
Yeah.
Do the parking lot.
Parking lot.
To be honest, if we're talking about 2%, we're gonna save about $300 for the year at 26 mowing weeks.
gonna cost a lot more to write
So,
the.
well, I agree. I think we should.
Well, if you guys are comfortable, it's 5 and 5. Okay. I just don't want to get beat up that we're not going out to RFP and we're just accepting
Maybe-
what the vendor says.
Maybe that's a better proposal. Could we do 5 and 5 rather than 10 and 0?
Oh,
I don't think they'll have a problem with it.
Okay. yeah.
It ends up being the same for them
Hey, it's
anyways.
the cost of time value.
It just spread out, yeah.
Yeah,
They came back last year for the same rate they did it the year before.
Mhm.
That's
So there's
why-
been other years where
Yeah.
they haven't increased,
Oh.
so it's, I mean, it's fair. It's a fair price.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that, Mayor Councilmember Schomer,
Mhm.
I couldn't put my hands on the 2022 or 2023 agreement. So
Mhm.
good information.
So I withdraw my request and I liked what Abe said, ask 5 and 5.
Sure.
And the 30-day out,
yeah,
no problem.
okay. Sounds good. So we'll see that one back hopefully in 2 weeks.
Could I ask
Preemptively,
if
we preemptively
they're-
approve it if
they're cool
everybody's,
with that, can we just get it signed and done?
yeah.
Yeah.
so somebody want to make that
I'll
motion
make that
then?
motion
All right,
to
thank you, Abe.
approve a 5 and 5 with the 30-day out. If they agree.
And if they don't,
That will be-
approve it anyways.
It's important. I mean,
It is.
They do good, if they do a great job for you, you know them, they're local.
Yeah.
At some point, you probably want to go off an RFP, but you're just not there yet.
Well, the guy that did it previously, that rode around with the oxygen tank on his lawnmower smoking a cigarette.
And how many times did he get stuck in the ditch?
Quite a few. And he did it for 15 years, so there you are. Oh, my God.
All right, so I do have a motion. Anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jay. Motion by Zanto, second by Satterbach. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Let's move on. 7.4, considering ordering plans and specifications for the 2025 microsurfacing project. Engineer Nelson, you take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this project was actually scheduled for construction in 2024 and was delayed because of the conflict or the timing conflict with the culvert project on 170th Street. So the best we can tell is that the budget amount of roughly 173,000 was carried forward into this year. And so with that, if the council would like to move forward this project, the next step would be to order plans and specs. And that would be for microsurfacing of 170th Street, Whitewood Avenue, Birch Road, Casey Parkway, and Killarney. With that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Shane. Council, any questions or comments?
Does he anticipate any changes in cost?
Shane, did you hear that? Is there any indication of what, where costs are coming in this year?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, Mr. Mayor, because the amount from last year was just simply carried forward and no inflationary factor was applied to it. 173,000 is the CIP estimate. And again, CIP estimates are just kind of a average cost per foot. They're not a real detailed estimate. So it's likely that we might see a 5% or 7% increase from last year. But at this point, we have not opened any bids for microsurfacing projects so far in 2025. So that's just speculation.
Sure.
Shane, is it true that we usually come in better than the estimate? Like this is like I remember when my road was done, we came in like 20%
Lower.
lower. And we have a 10% contingency probably in there too.
Right. Yeah. So on overlay projects, we actually prepare an estimate and prepare quantities. I'm not as certain that this project will come in under because, again, we're just with the CIP estimates, we're just using the cost per foot. And one thing that we have is striping on 170th Street. So we have, a center line double stripe and also both fog lines. That additional cost isn't insignificant. It might be an extra $8,000 or $10,000. So.
I think truthfully, but we probably won't know until we actually prepare plans and specs to go out to bid. So, if it's obscene, then you have another opportunity to actually make the choice.
Do you know, Chris, does this address the gentleman from last meeting, his concern about Casey Parkway or?
No, it's
No.
on the east side.
Yeah, east side of 27.
Okay.
Would be this Casey Parkway.
The other one needs some patching,
Yeah.
some work.
Any other questions, comments? Yes. Please and thank you.
I move that we go ahead and approve this.
Okay. Got a motion by Jay ordering plans and specifications for the 2025 microsurfacing project.
I'll second it.
Second by Schomer. So motion by Satterbach, second by Schomer. Again, to order the plans and specifications for a 2025 microsurfacing project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 7.5, consider a social media policy for Facebook and others. Clerk Jones, I think you've got this one.
Now that I am assisting with the Facebook page, we just talked about probably needing a policy for how we run it and kind of cover all the questions that might come up, different rules that we should have for how we handle the comments, what kind of posts we should make, and all of that. We want to keep it kind of anecdotal and fun and informative and not actually put any public notice or city business on there by itself, since we already have places to put that. So, so that's where we attach that policy that we got. Eric wrote it up using some ideas from the LMC. And I think it really covers anything that might happen.
Okay. Council, questions, comments? I think, in my opinion would be is that there could be some, notification and stuff, use it for, if we're, public notice pieces, a secondary option for people to see some of that stuff. I really like, City of Prior Lake will post their agenda the morning of the meetings, Savage does the same thing. I think other news items and stuff like that, just, the type of information that we'd like to get out, whether it be via our email or anything like that, it's just another format for communication with our residents.
Things like meetings in the park.
Yeah, 100%. Events that city sponsored events.
Oh, that kind of thing would definitely be.
Yeah.
One of the concerns.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, he's got two microphones
I
in front
looked
of
at
him.
that microphone.
One of them's not on, one of them is. Eric talks so soft, he needs two, so.
Yeah, it's such a shy guy. Concerns I think we talked about here is when we're posting notices for the legal elements of it, of meeting your 10-day notices and your 1599 notices or what have you. We want to make sure that those are our priority, number one. I mean, those are, we gotta
Absolutely.
make sure those are done. And we don't want to have people, well, it didn't get on Facebook. So there was, we didn't get notice. Well, okay, the notice rule is the posting, the newspaper, or the hard copy mailing. One more posting or one more notice expectation, again, is death by 1,000 cuts sometimes for your staff. Always ask them to do one more thing, will in the end catch up to you. Now, this is a minor deal. And it would be the clerk's responsibility to do that. But it's another expectation. Versus trying to have something on Facebook that would simply say, hey, folks, this is where these notices are. Here's the link. But to just do one more notice, or if you forget something, well, you didn't put it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Now you're not being transparent. So this is where I struggle with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Our duties are X,
Mm-hmm.
but what can we really handle? I mean, we have a few people here. So
Right.
anyway, that's.
Yeah. No, I think, Eric, the expectation should just be, hey, simply link it back to the website,
Sure.
right? Doesn't need to be anything elaborate or anything like that, but if it's a meeting agenda, a council meeting agenda, the morning of the meeting, simple, link it back to where you can get the agenda, right?
The warning, I mean, so.
Or the day before or something like that. I mean, you can, and they can be scheduled out, right? It's not like
Yeah.
it has to be done exactly at that time.
I don't want to be that bucket of cold water, because I think you want to do these things. Where I just struggle with it is the expectation that they're done, and if it fails, it becomes problematic. So I'm with you.
Two suggestions.
Yeah.
One would be that we just make sure that we have a disclaimer on the Facebook that covers that. And then second, if we are providing a link to the notice, and that's all we do, and we only do that, then we're actually only just putting a pointer to the notice that's there. And then that should solve both of those things.
Well, even the act of remembering to put the pointer
Right, but you're not establishing a notification process. When you do that, you're just pointing you're pointing in a direction of where the notice is, so that we're not actually violating
I'm
that.
with you.
Or by lack of doing it, we're not also.
No, I understand you're not legally violating.
Mhm.
Right.
For example, you have a planning commission about cannabis, coming up. Or let's think back to like the bed and breakfast matter, maybe that's probably more contentious to a very isolated group of neighborhood. Why did the city not put this on Facebook or not put that on Facebook? It just becomes a little bit of a challenge to. Whereas our policy is more along the lines of what Amy indicated is, look, this is critical information about maybe things that are urgently going on in the city. Hey, the newsletter link, I mean, nothing.
Mhm.
Your anecdotal example is a good one is, thought to be a positive voice for the things going on in the city versus I mean, we can do it. I just understand the expectation here is, I don't know if that's. You had somebody that you could rely on.
Oh,
Wow.
I mean, that's their job. That is their job all day long is social media content. You don't have a person whose job is social media content all day
Mhm.
long and to track those.
Yeah.
It's just a caution. We can do it.
I
It's just a
think
caution.
it'd be worthwhile testing out a little bit and see what kind of timing and stuff, but again, yeah, we're not asking for something posted every day.
No,
No,
I get it. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
No, I think it's just important to allow in our policy for more information as needed. To be, ability for another spot to connect with people, right? Because we know we send out, X number of emails to our email chain system, X number of people actually read those. It's just another opportunity to touch some people that we aren't touching today.
Sure. I just struggle with, against Eric's little crazy world is try to make sure our communications are clear and
Mm-hmm.
my definition of being clear is just being consistent in the message and sometimes you do all these things and people say, well, you forgot. And now, anyway, so how about we go take back a look at this and see, because we'd have to tweak it if that's what you want. We could do that.
I want to have I don't want it to not have the opportunity to do it.
Right, that we should tweak this.
Yeah.
Although there is, a paragraph in there about like emergency communications. and
There
there's
is.
Yeah, there's
other
that.
things
There's
that,
that.
you know,
There's,
Right.
but I think what the mayor is indicating, and hopefully I'm reading it right, is, hey, we have a public hearing coming up on something. See the meeting list.
Or here's a link to the agenda or whatever, right? Yeah.
I hesitate people saying, well, you didn't put anything on Facebook.
I think it should be,
You
more,
can,
here's a link to the notification. No, we should
Mhm.
clearly say that this is not. This is not the actual notification, so people don't get the idea of that.
Well, I
Right.
get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to go off of that, at what end? Right, so the government center, citizen advisory.
I
I'm
would
in the
limit
same
it, I
camp.
would limit to the council.
I think we have a limited number of resources here and I think we should do as little as we can, even though I'm all for transparency. Maybe what it is just a constant hit on, hey, make sure you sign up for notices. Here's where you go find the information
Mhm.
versus instead going after every meeting notice. I get concerned about that too. What happens if Amy's out and Lucas is doing it and he forgets to put it on there or doesn't have access to do it. So I think you get in a little bit of hot water when we have such a small staff. So
Sure.
I would be concerned about doing that.
I
Maybe
think that's
else.
a way to do it is. If we just let's take another stab at this, if that's okay, we come back in
Mhm.
2 weeks with some more ideas, but I think we can accomplish what everybody wants without getting ourselves in hot water if we. miss
Yeah.
something.
And I would, yeah, to your point, Abe, I don't think that we would do every single thing. I think, if, in my opinion, we would limit to like council meetings, right? Here's when the council meetings are, right? You could put the agenda, here's how you find the agenda type of thing, not, I don't want to overbear this because again, that also is a negative. People start to ignore it
Right.
real quick if it's too much, right?
Yep.
You know, so I'm just thinking like city news, council meetings, you know, stuff like that. You know, today would have been a great opportunity, you know, with the accident that happened over here to replicate the press release from the sheriff's department. Because I know there's a lot of chitter chatter, a lot of, you know, stuff that was talked about in the, you know, community about that, wondering what happened, you know, and they don't always know exactly where to go find that information. You know, so it's things like that, you know, emerging topics, and that was just an example, not a, you know, piece that, you know, intended to kind of show what kinds of things I think it would be important to, you know, utilize it for.
I did check on that all day and.
I know,
never
they
put
did.
it- They never actually put it on their website, or I mean, they never
They,
actually.
they
put it on
never,
their-
they never actually put on their social either. I think
Yeah.
because of the post that they did this morning was something I think they wanted to keep there all day.
Okay,
But they often do put their press releases out there.
yeah, I checked for it.
Yep,
Just so that,
I did
so I
too.
could see if we could share it, but I
Yep.
didn't ever see it come up, so.
Mhm.
Well,
Let-
if page 49 of your council packet, under purpose, second paragraph. You know, it just talked about city social media contributors for incidental, non-vital communication and general information only. It's not the purpose of the city's social media constitute a medium for transaction of city business or for the posting of required notices. We already have those things. I mean, that's pretty clear. If we're gonna try to, we're updating, well, so Amy, for example, hey, we gotta get this posted for the fee schedule, or we have to get this posted for the public hearing. You know, let's get that done, we gotta get that in the paper, da, 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 da. Oh, yeah, we also gotta put it on Facebook. Doesn't mean you will want to, it's just, that's about fourth on the list.
But again, I think if, again, in the discussion that we just had, Eric, I think limited it to, you know, some of the hotter topics or the bigger things like council meeting agenda, right? I mean, not worrying about all the little postings of the public hearings or stuff like that.
Maybe there's a setting on Facebook that just allows an automatic posting of a council meeting.
Well, technically, actually, there is in peak,
No, I get it, but in
right?
Facebook,
Or,
that's if the goal is to have Facebook be this medium. And just
I'm
concerned with it, putting another burden on your staff to do that too.
so maybe we could talk about this in two different matters of making the policy so that it allows it, whether we actually do it or not is a
Right.
different step.
Yeah.
Then we can consider the step of actually doing it at a different time.
That's great. Guys, and it's up to you folks, but know what's.
Cause you're gonna get, and it's gonna happen, you're gonna get somebody falling up with complaining that, now who's picking and choosing what's going on where? What,
We haven't yet.
I know,
It's been
but,
going on for many years so far. Brent started that
mhm,
page probably 10 years ago.
but now we're expanding it. It's gonna happen,
Well, yeah, that will happen.
so I just,
But I hesitate about, let's, we can bring this back to you, take another swag at it, see if we can get everybody comfortable.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for putting that together. Getting the topic started. We'll move on to 7.6. Consider a CSTS pumping policy. Lucas.
Thanks again. In front of you is a CSTS pumping policy and also touch is on our septic effluent pump processes as well. As probably anybody here knows, the city is responsible for the maintenance and monitoring of the community sewer treatment systems, or CSTS. And as part of that, we complete annual tests over those effluent pumps at each of the homes within those CSTS areas. If they meet certain qualifications, then we have to do pumps. And then past practice has been if they're pumped more than once in a 3-year cycle, then we pass those extra pumping fees on to the homeowner. Otherwise, it's basically considered your fees, your monthly utility fees cover that one pumping within 3 years. So this policy basically puts that in policy so we can like I had to go back, figure out what was past practice, so it's gonna be more efficient and staff will know the process going forward. And it wouldn't be any financial impact, just making sure it's in writing what we've been doing in the past.
Okay. Thank you, Lucas. Council members, any questions or comments?
Updated.
Yeah. If there are none, I'd take a motion to approve the CSTS pumping policy.
So moved.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Abe. Motion by Sutterbox, second by Zanto. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to staff and council member updates. Eric, I'll start with you. Anything?
Well, we're gonna work on the Facebook policy.
About the press.
Yeah.
Right, breaking news.
I think we should have a Twitter account.
I just wanted to say, I know Lucas, finance director can comment on this, but we've spent quite a bit of time with sorting out your various escrow accounts. And the amount of work that takes is tremendous, and sorting of those files, that might take a couple more weeks, but we hope to have that back to you for disbursement here soon. And the same token, aiming for your CSTS rates and truing all those up end of March into April, I think, and then having some community meetings with them thereafter. So good
Okay,
job. Thank you.
thank you. Abe, anything?
I do not.
Leroy? I don't have anything. Jay?
Yeah, I attended the scale meeting. They had a couple people from the Minnesota Office of Collaboration and Dispute Resolution. Put on a program on it. It's kind of interesting. It's also can be noted that they are, it's a Minnesota provided agency that, and their services are of no charge. So, that's something we could always look at. And also, Wendy Wolf, our Met Council, got up and talked about briefly how they passed on and their plan, the plan for Suburban Edge. Density is now 3.5 units per acre. But the program that they have will net out stormwater features. And then she briefly talked about greenfield acres.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Bill, anything?
Yeah, I have two things. First of all, we had a vision advisory committee meeting last Wednesday night, and we're getting close to being able to, the committee is getting close to being able to come back to the council, recommend what they've been working on with a presentation. And we're looking at, Eric, we're looking at maybe the second meeting in March. It depends on our next meeting. We're to finalize everything. If we can finalize everything, the second meeting in March would be good. We get on the agenda for that. So if not that, the first meeting in April. So that's coming along pretty good. And then the second thing is we all received a memo from Corey Tate, and I would like to ask the council that we address it. I don't know how we should, whether we have a workshop to talk about the topic of making our ordinances more friendly to the existing residents and what they're looking for their city. And I know that her letter is kind of like similar to what we wanted Claire to do in terms of like, what can we do to do in our ordinances to make, to preserve what we all like in our city. So I don't know what the best option is, but I think we all, for at least an answer of her memo, and I didn't think we wanted to individually each write something. I'd like to actually have a workshop to talk about that topic. Anyone else interested in doing that?
Had conversations with her. Some of these are some of the things that we talked about. So, I don't,
With no action though, right? Like we talked
no,
about it.
I had a conversation with her. And these are some of the items that we discussed.
Oh, her and you.
Yes.
discussed. I thought you meant the council discussed.
Yeah. I think some of these things are important. We should start addressing them. in here. So I would kind of agree that we probably we should have some sort of a meeting. Just kind of openly discuss some of the things we may need. Maybe we need to figure out what our going forward is from our closed session and then see what else we need.
Any other comment on that?
Eric, how do I go I'm gonna make a motion that we get this on an agenda. To talk about it, whether it's a workshop or a meeting. So I make that motion.
I think that helps.
Thanks.
But the other alternative I would offer, if I may.
Mhm.
If you folks wanted to have put that ask or that request on your next agenda and you guys can talk about it, which is really the same thing.
Mhm.
The question is, what would be the schedule and time? I just looking back at the letter, I think you should talk about all these things and, my unsolicited opinion about like from your vision committee is, the mission and the vision elements are great. But what are you going to do what's the takeaway? What are the meaningful
Strategies.
strategies
Right.
that are substantive, that are pragmatic, that are meet the legal tests? Do those ideas and goals address any of these?
Mhm.
And they very well may. Or the other option is, a lot of these things she might be asking, maybe she just doesn't know, and you might already have them anyway.
We do, actually quite a few of them, like minimum road widths.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those things that when I read through it that already exist in our ordinance that require no action, so.
And we could take a look at the letter and write her a response from staff and say, hey, like, you already have a minimum road width or a setback that already X, but the bigger picture might be, well, the mission and vision people committee come out with, we want rule X, Y, and Z. Well, that's great, but tell us how we enable that. Might be more interesting.
Right. I love that idea. And if I was a planner and an engineer, I'd love to tell you what to do. I don't know what to do. I have to rely on Claire and she-
Collective wisdom of you all.
Yeah,
Well, your motion is your motion is a good one. If you, it never hurts to talk. I would argue.
I actually, I agree wholeheartedly. I think if we get a revision in there, then we can use that to start the dialogue. I think the workshop's a great idea. I think the workshop could be a very broad review of our ordinances and start to say what doesn't line up with this vision now and be able to have that dialogue. So I would kind of move to pause until that vision's
okay.
in place.
Can we respond to her in that?
I mean, if those things are already in place, that's no problem to say, hey, here's a little bit of feedback and that we can do.
Yeah, and then also tell her that we're gonna address
That's
any
fair.
other things after the vision gets approved.
That's the thought of the council, I believe, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
I think
Okay.
so.
Thank you.
makes sense.
Lucas, anything? Excuse me.
We touched on quite a bit I've been working on lately, the escrows and the CSTS breakout between our couple different areas there. Cleaning up last bit of some para and payroll reporting and starting some audit prep. Yeah, I went in more detail on the other sections, so it's been staying busy.
All right, sounds good.
Leroy?
One thing, Lucas wanted to know how to, bill out for the administrator day that we had. By the hour or a meeting or,
Oh, I think Eric sent that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the last time we went through that, we each billed out 50 an hour. And I think this time it came through, Jay and I both did that, but nobody else claimed that.
I don't make one, I would say. I'm not doing that.
But you don't have to.
I'm gonna do my standard meeting
I just threw it, we had the conversation internally,
Mhm.
didn't know what the past practice was from whatever you folks did, so.
I looked up what we did last time.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what we did last time.
So,
I would question that just because our bylaws don't state that,
Right, we do get a salary,
plus a stipend for each.
right?
Yeah, but an all-day meeting is a little different from
Our
a
bylaws
council
don't
meeting.
state that. I just don't think
It's
so.
one thing if you're sitting here for a meeting, but we're all over the place that day. So,
I think it's fair.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to say that, if you want to claim it for 15 hour, but that's, we can claim it for 15 hour.
Wouldn't we need to pause our bylaws in order to do that?
I'll make the motion to pause the bylaws, but it's actually not, actually, it's an amendment to, would it be amendment to ordinance or,
you have your bylaw, again, I
We
don't know off the top of my head, but you have adopted bylaws, and if your bylaws say can't bring anything up on the agenda that's not already
True.
posted, you'd have to.
right, well, we'll do that at the next meeting.
Yep.
Amy, anything for updates? Okay, thank you. Abe,
I'm ready to make a motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn,
I'll second.
second by Leroy. Motion and second to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We will recess here for a few minutes while we sign checks and then we will close session.